The three of you run legacy radio stations, unbelievable news stations that have tested time, controversy, changes in the media environment, whatever. Tell me a little bit about, we'll start with you, Mike, about the culture and the promise to your listeners that makes you guys so successful.
That's a great question. We have a significant responsibility in Pittsburgh at KDK, 104 years, and the community over time has come to depend on the radio station where anytime something in the city important happens or something major happens, that when they come to us, we can deliver facts, information, insight, and direction. So the brand is in a great place from that perspective, that people still continue to utilize it when something important happens in the city. It's our job as the stewards of it, or what we're doing around when major things are happening, to keep it engaging, and that's really where our challenge is right now.
Bennett?
It's a shame that this is radio. This is the best looking guy at Audacy. Oh, you know, just got to let you know that.
That's why we went to video in Pittsburgh.
Exactly. The truth is, we just work as a local business. That's it. We're a local business, just like the dry cleaner, just like a local restaurant. And everything we do, we always think about the end user. What is somebody doing today? Where are they going to eat? Where are they going to sleep? Who's in their family? What do they need to get by? And we kind of wrap that into, and I love the panel before because they were talking about entertainment, because that's always a tough question to ask talent. What business are you in? And a lot of times they panic. You're in the entertainment business, but the vessel is news talk. But if your talk is entertaining, then you can deliver all the information. So I think our secret is that we're just a local business, and we try to make the roads, the businesses, and all of the people that are trying to help each other better, and communicating that.
To expound upon what they're already saying, the thing we try to maintain is we have to do this every single day so that we're there when the big things happen. And big things can be bad and good. You know, we recently got a new pope, a Chicago guy. That was a huge, exciting news day to cover, which was, you know, a breath of fresh air when it's not just hard, depressing news, which is what we mostly are covering. And we like to use the theory that if you tuned in from out of town, you don't know what's going on our air, which means we're covering our local people the best way. We're not trying to do national news. You know, we're trying to localize everything. It's the stuff you talk about in your home, your health, your wealth of your kids, your parents. You know, we have a lot of people in that gap where you're taking care of your parents and you've got kids in college. What is that? How is that affecting people's daily lives? That's where we try to focus every story that we're doing.
So Mary, in terms of that at GN, how important with the connection to community is the local talent?
Very. Sorry. You don't have to be born there. You know, it's not necessary, but you have to be integrated into the community and understand what's going on. Also, not just in the city of Chicago. You know, quite a bit of our listeners they live 30 miles out. You know, when you're a 50-watt AM radio station that bleeds into many markets, you know, you got to be thinking rurally as well. And so you have to be in touch with that, but you don't have to have been born in our city or the surrounding area to understand that, but you have to have that emotional IQ to be able to adapt to it if you're going to be on our station.
Sure. Mike, you have some great talent in Pittsburgh.
The local connection.
It's the power of the SPAC. Oh, it's here.
I don't get that response very much. The local connection of the talent is the most important thing that we do from a talent perspective. That is being entrenched in the community on a multiple levels. It's the ability to understand what's going on in people's community from our talent's perspective and putting themselves in position where they have enough resources and sources that they can actually deliver the content and engagement that we need in the local communities. It's probably, from my seat, the thing that we focus on the most, and the one thing that I can't see would have the biggest negative impact on the KDK brand if we ever lost any of that localism from local talent. It's really what people come when they put on the radio station at 6:20 in the morning or 2:20 in the afternoon. They want local content that is speaking to them about what's going on in their community. So it is a huge part of what we do and where we live.
You know what drives me crazy? 82 million people a month listen to the AM band, yet this wah-wah, right, about the AM band, which is so silly and frustrating, and someone who ran AM stations before, it literally drives me crazy. So in the late 80s, early 90s, AM radio was dead, right? And then a guy named Rush, I don't know if you guys heard of him, and Howard Stern, and Don Imus, and all these guys, you know, became in AM radio, and that was cool and unbelievable. Like, oh my God, this is great, and lots of money was made, and it was wonderful times. Could that ever happen again, Bennett?
Which part? The AM radio being...
Get the cool kids on AM. Does that make any sense?
Well, I mean, we all discuss distribution all the time. I mean, where can you get it? And we are dependent now on being able to take our program and our content and our talent and putting them across all distribution systems because they have to extend their brand. So the local person becomes more effective if you can get them in a lot of different ways. I mean, I'm in the car driving from market to market. I'm listening to Audacy. Okay, so I'm listening to the stream. So I think the answer is yes, and I think it's going to be less about whether it's AM or FM, but it's going to be what is the easiest way for me to find the content that I think is terrific, the personality that I love, and somebody that I can really believe in when they tell me something that I can actually make my life a little bit better.
Well, let me extend it that. Is there a negative to be putting it everywhere? Because that's what we do now. We put it everywhere.
I don't think so. You know, I mean, look, currently we talked about Nielsen a little while ago. I mean, Nielsen matters, so we try to drive them to where those meters are or where those diaries are. But we got to be ahead of the curve. You know, you talk about AI. You can have a good opinion or a bad opinion, but I encourage you to use it because if you don't use it, you're going to be so far behind, and we'll decide later whether it's good or evil. But you got to know how to use it.
So the redistribution of content and multi-platform, I believe, you know, we talk a lot about the first crack at it is what's coming out of the speakers, but what we do with it from there is so important, and that's why 3 years ago we developed a full video platform at KDK because we can take that content every day, every hour, every 10 minutes, and repurpose it all over social and put it in front of people in different demographics and touch them and engage with them. So is it good or is it bad? I don't know about that part, but the reality of it is we need to touch them where they are, and there's a lot of people living on social, and we can take our original content and repurpose it all over the place for them in all the different social channels, and it's very, very beneficial.
The real challenge or the thing to stay on top of is being able to collect all that data, where the different impressions come from, and pooling it in one place so you get a true representation of what was consumed, not just through the speakers.
No argument, but all rating points are not created equal, right? So what we're doing here, we're creating a lot more inventory that gets distributed. Some of it we can sell, some of it we can't, because it's harder to get ratings in certain areas, whether it's a podcast or whatever. Do we do it too early, particularly with talent or news? Do we throw everything out the window before it's established? And you know, it's video, it's a podcast, it's all these digital platforms. I don't know the answer. I'll throw it to you guys here. I think sometimes, and I listen to some great talent, and I'm like, why are they putting them everywhere yet?
Well, I think the podcast conversation from earlier was a great one. Podcasts for a lot of our guys was a challenge initially because they weren't necessarily creating original content that people were finding on podcasts, which doesn't want people or people don't want to download at that point. So the podcasting space is a little more different from our seat locally, where we have to create great content that people aren't getting somewhere else. Repurposing our original content from over the air or other spots, I think there will always be a benefit to.
Listen, radio talent, they were the first influencers before anything else. And so when we have people that are talking on the radio, you know, the interesting thing is we early on, we were like, got to do a podcast. Come on, put the work in. You stay one more hour, do all that. And you made a lot of these crazy demands because you really didn't know what you were doing. But you know what a podcast is? Anything that you upload and somebody downloads, it's a podcast. And I think that a lot of the talent can take those benchmarks and the different things that they do. And I think Phil earlier was saying that you got to have at least 35,000 downloads and 1 million followers here and there. But you can do one great radio show, you know, and talk about the hits, and then upload things and download, and it's trial and error to see what they want.
I think from the repurposing what already was on the air, you know, as a podcast is the necessary thing that we learned years ago for relationship development with your audience. Audience says, I can't listen straight through for 4 hours, but I want to consume this at some point. We will do that for you. The challenge of having your established hosts that work under, we have, you know, ethic and brand standards we work against. Okay, now go create a new podcast, but you still have to be in the framework that aligns with our brand, but come up with something new and creative. That's been, we operate on a little bit of a slower, let's make sure we have something good before, you know, putting anything out there that feels good, that can be sustained, because a lot of these start and stops, you find you don't build audience, and it takes a lot of energy to do it, and then, you know, things fall flat, or they just can't maintain. You're like, oh, we can do 3 20-minute podcasts a week. It's a lot of work to do that, you know. So helping hosts, you know, control themselves is also important, that they don't overextend themselves.
I'm going to get a little nasty here. Tell me about the 3-minute measurement and your thoughts on a news station, how it's impacted your business.
I think it's had a positive impact, but probably not to the extent that we thought it would. For us specifically, we've seen growth, and I think the verdict is still out on what the long-term benefit of it is going to be. I think the bigger concern for us, really, as we talk about it, is the 3 years. I think that's something that is very concerning as we go forward. It seems like it's benefiting them, not so much benefiting us. So that's going to be something we really are going to have to see unfold over the next few years.
I'm kind of with SPAC, not sure yet, but I do think that trying things are important. We have to see making these changes to see if we can finally hit it. Now, we all know the dirty little secret. It's sampling, right? That's the dirty little secret, and that's where the money is. But I am happy if they're trying things. But it also makes us more dependent. I mean, think of a world without ratings. Just, you know, if you have a great narrative and a great product, and you have people that can tell great stories, you know, you have to approach every day as if Nielsen didn't exist. So I'm hoping they're better this time. And I was hoping John Snyder would be here, because he used to be a sales guy for us in D.C. back in the day. So I commend them for trying something new. I'm just not sure. So keep trying, don't stop.
The technology has been slow to adapt to anything for a long time. We're the #1 local biller in Chicago, AM station, and we are a Nielsen rated station, but we don't sell Nielsen ratings. So it's almost anecdotal that we saw a little lift, but everybody saw the lift, so that doesn't really set you apart. We already have the highest TSL, so it's, you know, that's not our main factor. I guess I appreciate that there's, you know, somebody gave something a shot. I think I was telling you earlier, Tim, that the agency and how they approach selling, you know, buying and talking to clients, I think that's where I'd like to see some adjustment, just in conversation and delivering real good impressions versus just total impressions, you know, but that's a big hill to climb.
Well, that's a great lead-in, because you talk about news and news talk stations with the older demos. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. But as our population ages, and I remember I got an avail for 18 to 34 for BMWs. Like, how many 20-year-olds are buying BMWs? And had to try to fight that one and lost. Do you see anything? You guys are legacy radio stations, branded years ago. People know you, love you, know the call letters. Yet you're dealing with a 25-year-old buyer who has their head in their phone and doesn't understand, how do you get past that? Or try to get past it? Or you can't get past it?
Well, we do local direct sales. We develop a relationship with the client, and oftentimes they're telling their agency person, hey, you're going to buy WGN Radio, even though they're not, in the demo or whatever. And we deliver results. Our listeners, as you said, the population that has disposable income, and they like to spend it. And they like to spend it on brands that are loyal, that our hosts endorse and use. We have a very solid group of hosts that only will endorse things they are using, the work that's been done on their houses, and they get results. So that's how we get around that. Also, we try to hammer them, just look at it, like we package, differently. Let's put you in the sports, to try to help that lift the other numbers to get something from the agency.
I'm not even in a demo anymore unless it has a plus sign. So they're not interested in me. So you can look at it that way. But we can get younger to ask the question, Tim. And the reason that I think we can, we are looking at being in the entertainment business. And so we have found, for those of you that are in blue cities or cities where NPR is big, Richmond is a capital city, and we saw NPR was starting to beat us for the very first time. And every Monday, I go to my emails or the texts, and I'll call 2 or 3 people, and usually they're the people that are either the most upset. And I was surprised to see how many people leaning left listened to the radio station, but what they wanted was more conversation. They didn't want us to be an extension of a political party. They didn't want us to be a political operative. What they wanted to do was hear it from both sides. And so we're not losing our conservative roots, we're not losing our Republican Party roots, but what we are doing is making it a safe place for anybody to ask a question and not feel that they're going to get beat up, especially when they say, "Thank you very much, Senator. Isn't she awful?" Like one of those things. So I think we might be able to learn something from podcasts. And what I mean by that is, on podcasts like Joe Rogan or Scott Galloway or Bill Maher, they actually change their mind. But that'll never happen on a lot of our stations, and certainly not on MSNBC or Fox. That's part of the deal. But we're seeing it in podcasts, and we're seeing it in conversation. So I think there may be a path that way.
So I think for us it was, and as we look at it, it's twofold. From the buyer perspective, the 25-year-old buyer who's going to make it tough to buy an AM news or news talk, it's about creativity and what we are building creatively that is integrated content that most times comes through the client, comes back to the agency, but it's adding a piece that in their buying world is very uncomfortable for them because it's tough to evaluate. But it's integrated content that is different than what they're just buying on a music radio station. It's giving the client, the real client, not the buyer, the opportunity to be a part of the radio station in a way that they can't in a lot of formats. So utilizing that is important. And the second part of it is on the aging out and the connectivity with that younger audience. The repurposing of content on social is important. But we took a little bit of a different step. We started to build some platforms that actually started to reintroduce the radio station to people that were 18 to 25 years old. And the biggest piece to that was really 2 pieces. One is we developed an overnight program in a partnership with the University of Pittsburgh, which is hosted by a group of students that are 18 to 24 years old. And every night they're doing a live show that connects with that audience that is very difficult for us in the format to get other places. And the second part of that was we developed a very extensive high school sports platform that is heavily focused on social media. And it's a Friday night broadcast of football or basketball. And then we connect, and through, everything we're doing on social, we're taking the broadcast pieces, we're taking the video pieces, and we're using those all over social to connect with high school kids, their parents, and their grandparents. So it's giving us a platform that becomes very attractive that really wouldn't compete with in previous. And I'll give you a recent example. We just did a very, very large deal with Invisalign where they're using KDK. They're trying to target high school students and young college students and they're using KDK from basically an influencer standpoint, but through our high school sports platform. So really developing content and platforms that actually hit that audience that they can't argue with.
Smart, smart. By the way, is Aaron Rodgers going to beat the Jets this weekend?
He better.
Oh, boy.
He
Oh,
better.
boy. We got your other guys, so yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
He doesn't look very good, by
no,
the other
no,
guy.
he does not. He does not. Let me ask you a question about this older demo we talked about and marketing these legacy brands. I don't know the answer to this. I'll start with you, Mary. Do you market WGN besides promos and digital and whatever? Are you out there with billboards or TV? Does anyone do that anymore?
Well, we have WGN TV is in market, and they have our promos. So we are on that station. We do a lot of joint brand awareness. But we don't do, we did a billboard campaign during the pandemic because we had a little bit of a lineup change. But mostly we aren't marketing outbound. We send people out. That's where we've invested, sending people out into communities and doing things that highlight different areas to show, and we get the touch points with people one-on-one. And that's what the strategy we've used, because it costs a lot of money to send people, shows out and do things like that. We've decided that that's because even if you didn't go to it, you heard that they were in your community, and that resonates, in the larger picture.
I think grassroots is coming back again. I mean, we folded our tents and our chairs and our picnic tables during COVID, and all the part-timers and everybody was gone. But I think getting our local talent, and I think we all agree that we love our local talent, to get them out into the community, grassroots, be at the Friday Night Lights, be at places that matter, whether it's a hospital, radiothon, and others. So I think that grassroots is coming back, and I think that'll be important. We will do TV this year because WRVA will have its 100th year anniversary this year.
Great.
And what we're going to do is we have some ideas, but marketing is really, we have to start thinking grassroots again.
So we've used, I'd say, 4 different content partnerships we have in the market, 2 with 2 TV stations and 2 with 2 lifestyle magazines to create content partnerships that in turn allows us to get some free marketing out of it from both of them. So the NBC affiliate, the CBS affiliate, we have content partnerships with both of them that allow us to get some TV exposure, not just through the content, but also through, we'll call them promos, commercials, if you will. And then the 2 lifestyle magazines, we actually feature some of their folks on our morning show delivering lifestyle around the city. And then we get, full page ads. We're on their socials. We're on their digital. So that allows us to get some free marketing from that as well.
Well, listen, bottom line, we can't sit back and watch things happen, particularly with older demo stations, the buyers that buy our products and those type of things. We have to be aggressive and out there, and that's why I asked that question. I was a big believer in marketing the product. We put a new talent on and we don't do any marketing in any, whether it's GN TV or whatever, we do nothing and we expect everyone to go there. So I think as a business, as a whole, we got to be much more aggressive. So my last question, each of you give me one positive change or one change you'd like to see that will positively affect your business. Just one thing. That you want to see in the business overall, or a change, or Chris Oliveira promoting you, or something like that.
So the podcasts have been amazing in that spoken word is so relevant. And so just the timing of my career, from the moment I started, Howard Stern was leaving our station and radio we were going to be, dying. And so it's been a challenge from the beginning. I don't know the heyday or whatever that was like. And so I've enjoyed the years of this is going away supposedly, and here we are 25 years later and nothing is, it's still happening. So I think that we also know nostalgia play, young people do like old things. And when they're done well, you find, Bronco comes back, vintage cars, things like that. Young people are now buying, the records people keep buying records. So it's sticking around, and every day looking at it like we're really fortunate to be in this position instead of, like we're not a bunch of Eeyores. And doing that is what's going to be, we're going to be around for a really long time, because people are going to need to know information and be entertained. Also, it may have had a subtle, nobody talks about the finances of it. Maybe, your anchors aren't making $2 million, to come a little late to their show and leave early, and, so that dynamic had to change. So I know for my business unit, I came in and say, hey, we're here to work, and this is my expectation that people didn't put on when they were hiring their friends and giving them long no-cut deals, and that's kind of how you get your business back aligned out of the red, so.
I agree with that, Mary, I do. And I think, you don't want to attack anybody's work ethic or say, if you just worked a little harder, that's not the answer. But I do think that we have to recognize that we are still in a shakeout period. And what I mean by that is we still have the residual effects of COVID, okay? And are we really staffed the way we want it to be, or we need to be? Or are we not asking the people who are to do more and give them the reasons that it's good for their career as well as the people that are around them? I mean, we have to get back to what do we really need to look like to be successful? So I think it comes from within. I think on the outside, I think we're all brothers and sisters, and what we need to do is raise the awareness. I mean, we're at the point where we're not really competing against each other anymore, even within the market. It's like so little. So, no poaching, no bashing, if anybody's buying a radio station in Virginia and it's not mine, I go, I'm so happy you're buying radio. I got an idea for you. So I think first it has to come from within, and I think that we can control our own destiny within the marketplace by raising the level of the success of audio and where it's going to go, and paint them a picture for the future. Because as far as the agencies are concerned, it would be great to have all the CEOs and senior leadership, going ahead and getting in and creating a real interest in what we do, because there are so many people think about radio and it's old thinking. It's old thinking. Radio today is so fantastic because, like I said, we were the first influencers, and we can continue to do that because we have not only a radio station, but we also have websites and social media to cross-promote ourselves. We just have to get better at it.
So I think it's not so much a change that I just would like to see as we go forward. It's more of us inside our own operations having the ability, as we go through financial transition over the next year, 2 years, 5 years, being able to take resources, and as we have to save money, as everybody knows we will in different situations. It's taking the money that we have and potentially repurposing it into other jobs that continue to maintain the local connection and local brand of these heritage radio stations. Because once we step away from that, that is going to be the biggest problem for us as a group of legacy heritage radio stations, and really as a format. If we step away from the local aspect of it and don't continue to deliver on that, it's going to put us in a position that's unrecoverable.
Well said. Listen, as we know, it's a wonderful business. It's like a rugby game. We're trying to fight it out there today, and then we're drinking at the rugby party at night. But I want to thank all of you, Michael, Bennett, Mary. You're great operators with great stations, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.